Bitcoin has been outperforming most of the longer tail assets within crypto. As we were moving towards the election, it was becoming so clear that crypto is a bipartisan issue, especially young people. And so both parties were catering to it, but I think that Trump made clear what he thought. And I think we're going to see a lot of legislative moves that will legitimize crypto in the eyes of people who are just going to stay away from it until we had our regulatory act together. So from a regulatory point of view, I think Gary Gensler will be out of business.
In this recent interview on ARK Invest with Cathie Wood, we explore how U.S. policies could propel Bitcoin to new heights, the potential for crypto-friendly legislation under the Trump administration, and what this could mean for Bitcoin investors. At the time of recording, Bitcoin is trading at approximately $91,000, reflecting a 2% increase in the last 24 hours and a remarkable 35% gain over the past 30 days. Bitcoin's momentum continues to grow as global investors eagerly anticipate significant U.S. policy shifts that could reshape the cryptocurrency market. Before diving further into the discussion, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this channel. Now let's hear more from Cathie Wood.
Interesting. I think many people are looking at tariffs and saying, this is terrible. I don't like tariffs myself. I don't like any tax increase. And that's a tax increase, or it's a tax on consumption. But what I think he's trying to communicate is, he's got a negotiating tool with other countries to level the playing field and allow some of especially our innovators into those countries with IP rights, guaranteeing IP, intellectual property rights. So it's a little bit of a bargaining tool. But I would also say that the more I learn from people in and around the administration, or this future administration, that the way they're looking at taxation is a little bit more like in the early days of this country. President George Washington, the first tax ever introduced into the U.S. was tariffs. That there was no income tax. There wasn't an income tax. And I actually think that that President Trump will want to move us a little bit more towards that way of thinking about the world. And, Art Laffer, I know, speaks to President Trump, has spoken to most presidents since, I think, President Nixon, actually, and consulted. He was not employed. He was employed by President Nixon and then decided he would never be employed by the government again, but wanted to give his advice. His advice is to, flatten out the tax rate and reduce it. And if the trade-off is tariffs, as long as they're not, I think we have to treat our free trading partners maybe a little differently than those who are not allowing a level playing field. But I like this trade-off. You also asked, and I know I just went on a tangent there, Nick. So that's the tax side of things, but you were coming from the dollar.
Yeah.
So what's going to drive the dollar? Returns on invested capital here, U.S., relative to the rest of the world. The policies, tax cuts, deregulation, keeping inflation down, and we can get into that in a moment. All of these are dollar friendly because returns on invested capital here in the United States, all other things equal, will go up relative to returns in the rest of the world. This is what happened during the Reagan administration. In fact, it happened. It was so extreme in the Reagan administration that it caused major problems in the rest of the world. Especially, they had inflation. We enjoyed lower inflation with the dollar going up, especially, commodities are priced in dollars. So commodity prices to us went down. Commodity prices to other countries went up. And it was a very difficult time. So much so that in 1985, I believe it was, there was the Plaza and there were two accords, the Plaza and the Louvre Accords, both of which encouraged treasury leaders from around the world to come together and agree to get the dollar down, including ours. What did that mean? It meant that we had to ease more. We had to ease, all other things equal. That's also very positive. So I think the thing that's going to keep inflation down even more, and this will be true in every country to the extent they adopt these new technologies, especially AI, is the massive productivity gain we're going to see. It's going to drive higher growth and lower inflation. And I think the US being freed up, especially from regulation, which has been strangling us, is going to be a huge beneficiary relative to what otherwise would have been the case. That's also dollar positive.
As we just heard Cathie Wood discuss the potential for U.S. policies to support Bitcoin and the broader crypto market, let's dive deeper into her thoughts on how upcoming legislative actions could legitimize Bitcoin and reshape the future of cryptocurrency. Now let's hear more from Cathie Wood.
Mag 7, of course, I've referred to them as Mag 6 because, they threw out Tesla when it started underperforming. So I don't want Tesla back in. They're going to include a few more too. I think that if you look at the Small Business Optimism Index, it dropped. It is down near where it was near the lows of 0809. So this environment over the last 4 years has been very difficult for small businesses. And small businesses employ 80%. Some people say 60%, but I'm hearing more and more 80%, which is the number I remember. And so between regulation, the inability to get credit, the inability for venture capital and others who are betting on these innovators to get liquidity events in the form of M&A, because the FTC was saying no to almost every acquisition, no matter whether it was in the same industry or not. So I think that is all going to accrue to the benefit of small businesses. The animal spirits are back. And the Mag 6 move was all about cash and safety. And oh, by the way, yes, they'll benefit perhaps from AI. And I know there are debates on that: sustained innovation, disruptive innovation. Nick and Brett and you have had this debate on the brainstorm. But I really do believe that the Mag 6, to the extent they are going to benefit from AI and all of the new technologies that we think are going to be turbocharged during these next 5 years. There are going to be smaller businesses that are going to benefit much more from an appreciation potential point of view. They've been so beaten down, right? And I think chief among them is healthcare, and how the dynamic is going to shift from big pharma, which also had way outperformed the smaller names. I think big pharma is going to find the world ahead a bit hostile relative to its model, and it will seek to infuse some innovation into its veins with some of these multi-omics names that we've been spending a lot of time with over the last 10 years.
To watch the full interview, check out the link in the description. Cathie Wood shared insightful perspectives on how U.S. policies could shape Bitcoin's future, the potential for crypto-friendly legislation, and the exciting opportunities for Bitcoin investors. We'd love to hear your thoughts. Will U.S. policies drive Bitcoin to new heights? How might upcoming legislation influence your outlook on Bitcoin investments? If you enjoyed this discussion, don't forget to subscribe, like, and share for more engaging content, exploring the innovative world of decentralized technologies.